The chase is a prison. You think you are hunting. You are not. You are being hunted. Every text you send and wait for, every call you make and hope they pick up, every plan you change to fit their mood, every time you check if they saw your story. That is not love. That is not power. That is slavery with a smile. A man who chases is a man who begs. He begs for time. He begs for attention. He begs for scraps of validation from people who do not respect him. And the cruel truth is this: the more you chase, the faster they run. Humans value what is scarce. They discard what is easy. You become easy. You become available. You become background noise in their life, while they become the center of yours. Stop lying to yourself. You say you are fighting for them. You are not. You are fighting against yourself. You are fighting your own fear of being alone. You are fighting your own emptiness. So you fill it with their presence. You fill it with their replies. You fill it with their maybe. And maybe is the most expensive word a man can buy. It costs you dignity. It costs you years. It costs you the man you could have been. The chase makes you blind. You ignore red flags because you are too busy running. You excuse disrespect because you are too invested in the outcome. You shrink your standards because you are terrified of empty rooms. You become a lawyer for people who would not stand witness for you. You defend those who would not defend you. You chase those who would not crawl for you. Look at your life when you are chasing. Your sleep suffers, your work suffers, your body suffers. Your mind is not yours. It is rented out to someone who does not pay rent. They live in your head for free, while you pay the price in focus, in peace, in power. Every notification pulls your chain. Every silence breaks you. You are not a man. You are a dog on a leash they do not even hold. The world taught you this lie. Never give up. If you love them, fight. Persistence wins. No, stupidity persists. Dignity chooses. A king does not chase. A king does not negotiate his worth. A king does not run after those who walk away. He lets them go, because a throne with a beggar on it is not a throne. It is a bench. Chasing is fear wearing the mask of effort. You fear being unwanted, so you prove your worth by effort. You fear being replaced, so you run faster. But a man who must run to be kept is already lost. If your presence has to be earned daily, you are not in a relationship. You are in an audition, and auditions end, usually when someone better walks in. So stop. Stand still. Let the silence come. Let the phone stay quiet. Let them wonder. Let them feel your absence. If they do not, you have your answer. If they do, they will come without you breaking your spine to pull them. Power is not in the chase. Power is in the choice. The choice to walk away from any table where respect is not served. You think you will lose them. Good. Lose them. Lose the ones who only stay when you chase. Lose the ones who only text back when you double text. Lose the ones who only value you when you are proving yourself. When you lose them, you find you. And you are worth more than any person who needs to be chased. The day you stop chasing is the day you start rising. Your energy returns, your mind clears, your shoulders drop, your time becomes yours, your standards come back from the dead. You stop performing and you start becoming. You stop asking and you start attracting. Because a man who does not chase is a man who knows. He knows his value. He knows his path. He knows he is the prize. So burn the leash, burn the script, burn the need. If they want you, they know where you are. If they do not, you know where you stand. Alone, but free. Empty, but clean. Hungry, but unbroken. Chase nothing, attract everything. And watch how the world changes when you stop running. The cut is not violence. It is mercy. You cut because you finally see. You see that begging for approval is not loyalty. It is addiction. You see that waiting for a reply is not patience. It is punishment. You see that hoping they change is not faith, it is fear. Fear of the silence after you cut. Fear of the empty space where their chaos used to live. You were trained to believe that cutting people off makes you cold. No. Chasing people who drain you makes you dead. You are not cold when you cut. You are alive for the first time. You are choosing your mind over their mood. You are choosing your peace over their problems. You are choosing your future over their excuses. That is not cruelty, that is clarity. A man who cannot cut will bleed. He bleeds time. He bleeds energy. He bleeds self-respect. He keeps toxic people close because he thinks proximity means importance. It does not. A knife at your throat is close too. Would you keep that? You keep people who disrespect you because you are terrified of who you become without their disrespect. You have built your identity around surviving them. You do not know how to live without the war. So you negotiate. You give them one more chance, then one more, then 10 more. You lower your standards so they can meet them. You call it understanding. The Stoics call it weakness. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Add this, if it is not respect, do not accept it. If they do not respect you sober, they will not respect you drunk on hope. The cut hurts. It should. Surgery hurts. But infection kills. You are infected with their opinions, infected with their validation, infected with the need to be chosen by people who would not choose you if you were the last man on earth. So you cut. You cut the call, you cut the text, you cut the memory, you cut the fantasy of who they could be if they just tried. They will not try. Because you are trying enough for both of you. Stop trying for both of you. Let them drop. Let them fail. Let them feel the weight of losing a man who would have died for them. If they feel nothing, you lost nothing. If they feel everything, they will return without you chasing. A king does not send search parties for those who leave the castle. He closes the gate. He reinforces the walls. He rules what remains. You think cutting makes you lonely. No. Chasing makes you lonely. Cutting makes you alone. There is a difference. Lonely is when people are around but you feel empty. Alone is when people are gone and you feel full. Because you are finally with yourself. You are finally listening to your own voice without their noise. You are finally breathing air that is not poisoned by their moods. The cut is the first act of power. It is the moment you say, "My peace is not negotiable." It is the moment you say, "My time is not a charity." It is the moment you say, "My name is not a word you can disrespect and still have access to me." That moment changes everything. Because the world only respects what it cannot control. And the moment you cut, you become uncontrollable. So make the cut. Do not announce it. Do not explain it. Do not defend it. Surgeons do not argue with tumors, they remove them. Remove them, block them, delete them. Mourn them if you must, but do not call them back. Every time you reopen the wound, it takes longer to heal. Every time you check their page, you pour salt in it. Every time you answer their "I miss you," you undo the surgery. You are not here to be understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You are not here to be loved by people who only love your suffering. You are here to be free. And freedom starts with a blade. Not to hurt them, to save you. The cut is not the end. The cut is the beginning. The beginning of power. The beginning of the man you were before you learned to beg. Cut, heal, rise. The return is not to them. The return is to you. You have been gone. You have been living in rented rooms inside other people's heads. You have been sleeping on floors inside other people's expectations. You have been starving while feeding their ego. You called it love. You called it loyalty. The Stoics call it exile. You exiled yourself from yourself the day you made their approval your home. Look at you. You do not recognize your own face. You do not recognize your own voice, because you have not heard it. It has been drowned by their opinions. It has been buried under their needs. It has been silenced by your fear of their silence. You became a ghost in your own life, present for everyone except you, available for everyone except you, loyal to everyone except you. So you return, not with fanfare, not with apology, not with permission. You return like a king to an abandoned throne. The castle is dusty, the halls are empty, the fire is out, but it is yours, and anything that is yours can be rebuilt. Anything that is yours can be ruled, but first you must sit down, first you must be alone, first you must face the man you abandoned. The return is brutal, because you meet the damage, you meet the years you gave away, you meet the dreams you postponed, you meet the body you neglected, you meet the mind you distracted, you meet the standards you buried so you could keep people who never deserved you. And it hurts. It hurts because you see how much you betrayed yourself to keep others. You see how many times you said yes when your soul screamed no. You see how many times you shrank so they could feel big. But do not run from it. This is the price of power. You pay it in truth, you pay it in grief, you pay it in solitude. The world will call it loneliness. The Stoics call it sovereignty. Because a man who can sit with himself is a man who cannot be blackmailed. A man who can enjoy his own company is a man who cannot be manipulated with attention. A man who has returned to himself has no leash. You spent years chasing them through airports of their moods. You spent years in customs waiting for their approval. Now you land back in your own country, your own mind, your own body, your own time, and it feels foreign. Because peace feels foreign when you have lived in war. Silence feels foreign when you have lived in noise. Self-respect feels foreign when you have lived in begging. So rebuild. Light the fire, clean the throne, feed the body, train the mind. Speak to yourself with the respect you gave to those who disrespected you. Keep promises to yourself with the urgency you kept for those who broke promises to you. Show up for yourself with the loyalty you showed to those who left you. This is the return. This is the reckoning. You do not need closure from them. You are the closure. You do not need their apology. Your absence is the apology they owe themselves. You do not need their explanation. Your return is the explanation. You left yourself to find them. You found nothing. So you came home. And home is where power lives. The world will test you. They will knock. They will say you changed. They will say you are cold. They will say you are hard to reach. Good. You were too easy to reach before. You were too easy to wound before. You were too easy to use before. Now you are hard to reach because you live in a fortress. And fortresses do not open for everyone. Fortresses open for those who bring peace, not problems. So sit, breathe, listen. Your voice is returning. Your strength is returning. Your standards are returning. Your life is returning. And when you are full, when you are whole, when you are rooted, then you choose. Not from hunger, from overflow. Not from fear, from freedom. You were never chasing them. You were running from you. Face yourself. The man you have been avoiding is the man who will save you. Welcome home. The rise does not happen in public. The rise happens in silence. It happens in the hours you no longer waste waiting for a text. It happens in the nights you no longer spend rehearsing conversations with people who never think of you. It happens in the mornings you no longer wake up checking who left you on read. You stop chasing, and suddenly you have time. You stop begging, and suddenly you have strength. You stop bleeding, and suddenly you have power. You do not rise to prove them wrong. You rise because you finally proved yourself right. You were right to walk away. You were right to cut. You were right to return. The world will not clap. The world only claps for performances. This is not a performance. This is a resurrection. And resurrections do not need an audience. They need a witness, and the only witness you need is you. You were told that power is loud. Power is quiet. Power is the man who no longer explains himself. Power is the man who no longer chases closure. Power is the man who no longer needs to be understood to feel complete. You chased people because you thought they held pieces of you. They did not. They held mirrors. And every time they turned away, you thought you disappeared. You did not disappear. You were just standing in the dark. Now you rise, not in anger, in awareness. Awareness that no one is coming to save you. Awareness that no one should. Awareness that the moment you save yourself, you become unsavable by others. You become unshakable. You become unreachable by chaos, because chaos only feeds on men who are hungry. And you are no longer hungry. You are full. Full of your own approval, full of your own discipline, full of your own standards. The rise is physical. Your shoulders come back. Your spine straightens. Your eyes lift. Because you are no longer carrying the weight of people who were never yours to carry. You were Atlas, holding up their sky. You dropped it, and the sky did not fall. They learned to hold it themselves, or they collapsed. Either way, it is not your burden. Your burden is your mission. Your burden is your mind. Your burden is your name. And now you carry it like a weapon. You will be tempted to look back, to see if they miss you, to see if they noticed you rose. Do not look back. Lot's wife looked back and turned to salt. You look back and you turn to doubt. And doubt is the acid that dissolves power. Keep your eyes forward. Keep your eyes on the work. Keep your eyes on the man you are becoming, because he is the only man who never left you. The rise is not a moment. It is a habit. It is choosing yourself in small rooms when no one is watching. It is saying no to the call that would undo your peace. It is deleting the number that would undo your progress. It is walking past the door you used to knock on for crumbs. You do not eat crumbs anymore. You build tables, and you decide who sits. They will call you cold. They will call you changed. They will call you arrogant. Let them. They are describing the distance between the man who chased them and the man who replaced them with himself. That distance is called self-respect. That distance is called power. That distance is called freedom, and freedom always looks like arrogance to the enslaved. You do not rise to be seen. You rise to see. And what you see now is clear. You see that chasing was weakness disguised as love. You see that begging was fear disguised as loyalty. You see that waiting was death disguised as patience. You are awake now, and an awakened man cannot be put back to sleep. So rise, train, build, create, lead, in silence, in sovereignty, not for revenge, for rebirth, because the best revenge is not to become like them. The best revenge is to become nothing they can touch, nothing they can reach, nothing they can control. You stopped chasing people. Now people chase the peace you carry. Now people chase the man you became when no one was watching. That is power. That is the rise. The rain begins when the chasing dies, not when they come back, not when they apologize, not when they finally see your worth. The rain begins when you stop needing them to see it. Because a king does not beg to be crowned. A king does not campaign for loyalty. A king does not negotiate his value. He rules, he decides, he enforces, and he does it from a throne built out of every no he was too afraid to say. You spent your life in someone else's kingdom. You followed their laws. You paid taxes in time. You paid tribute in energy. You paid fines in self-respect every time they disrespected you. You called it love. You called it commitment. The Stoics call it slavery with better lighting. You were not their partner. You were their subject. And subjects do not rule. Subjects serve. So you abdicate. You renounce their kingdom. You walk away from their castle. You stop answering their summons. You stop fighting their wars. You stop dying for their peace. And in that moment, your own land appears. It was always there. Under the noise, under the chaos, under the chasing. It is barren at first. It is quiet. It is empty, because you have not ruled it. You have not planted in it. You have not defended it. You were too busy fighting for a place at someone else's table. Now you build your table. You set your laws. The first law, access to me is earned, not given. The second law, my peace is not a public park. The third law, disrespect is exile, not debate. You do not argue with invaders. You do not negotiate with thieves. You do not explain your borders to people who trespass. You enforce. That is what kings do. That is what men do when they stop chasing and start reigning. The reign is not about control over others. It is about control over self. You do not chase because you are no longer empty. You do not beg because you are no longer starving. You do not check their page because you are no longer lost. You reign because you return to yourself in Keynote 3. You rose in Keynote 4. Now you rule. And ruling is quiet. Ruling is boring. Ruling is saying no to 90% of what once destroyed you. They will test your reign. They will send messengers, old flames, old friends, old ghosts. They will come with gifts, with apologies, with "I changed." Do not open the gate. A kingdom that opens for every apology is not a kingdom. It is a hotel. And you are not a hotel. You are a fortress. You are a nation. And nations do not let history repeat because someone said sorry. Nations require proof. Nations require time. Nations require respect before access. You will be called selfish. Good. Selfish is the word the powerless use for the powerful. Selfish is the word the chaotic use for the disciplined. Selfish is the word the chasing use for the reigning. You were selfish with everyone else's needs. Now you are selfish with your own. That is balance. That is justice. That is Seneca when he said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." Be here, in your reign, in your life, in your name. The reign is lonely at first, because crowds do not follow kings. Crowds follow clowns. Crowds follow chaos. Crowds follow men who perform. You do not perform. You rule, and the right people will find you. The disciplined will recognize you. The powerful will respect you. The broken will fear you. Let them. A lion does not adjust his roar to comfort sheep. You do not chase legacy, you become it. You do not chase love, you embody it. You do not chase power, you are it. The day you stop chasing people is the day you stop living in their shadow. The day you stop chasing people is the day you cast your own, and your shadow is a kingdom. So sit on your throne, move with intention, guard your peace like it is gold, because it is. Guard your time like it is blood, because it is. Guard your name like it is a nation, because it is. You were the chase, you became the cut, you endured the return, you survived the rise, now you begin the reign. The silence is not empty, the silence is full. It is full of the noise you no longer entertain. It is full of the drama you no longer feed. It is full of the battles you no longer fight. You chased people because you were terrified of silence. You thought silence meant you were forgotten. You thought silence meant you were losing. You thought silence meant you were dying. No, silence is where power lives. Silence is where kings breathe. Silence is where men stop performing and start becoming. You were addicted to noise, notifications, arguments, explanations, confrontations, closure. You needed sound to feel real. You needed chaos to feel alive. You needed their reaction to feel like you existed. That is not life. That is slavery to vibration. That is begging the world to clap so you know you are on stage. But the stage was burning, and you were the only one still dancing. So you stop. You stop replying. You stop defending. You stop announcing. You stop proving. You stop posting your healing for people who broke you. You stop updating people who abandoned you. You stop explaining your boundaries to people who benefit from you having none. And at first it feels like death. Because your ego dies. Your need to be seen dies. Your need to be understood dies. Your need to be right dies. And what is left is you. Raw, unperformed, undefended, real. The silence is your weapon now. When they disrespect you, you do not argue, you vanish. When they test you, you do not react, you remove. When they provoke you, you do not engage, you ascend. Because a man who can be pulled into every fire is a man who will never build his own. You are not firefighter for other people's drama. You are the architect of your own peace, and peace is built in silence. You think silence is weakness. Weak men are loud. Weak men announce every move. Weak men broadcast every wound. Weak men need the world to watch them suffer, so the suffering feels valid. Strong men suffer in silence, and return with scars that do not need stories. Strong men disappear, and return unrecognizable. Strong men lose the need to be heard, because they finally hear themselves. And once you hear yourself, you realize you were never missing their voice. You were missing your own. The silence will offend them. Your silence is the loudest no you ever said. Your silence is the door you finally closed. Your silence is the boundary they can no longer cross. They will call you arrogant. They will call you cold. They will call you changed. They will say you fell off. No, you fell in. You fell into yourself. You fell into discipline. You fell into standards. You fell into the man you were before you learned to beg for scraps of attention. You do not owe them sound. You do not owe them access. You do not owe them a response. You do not owe them a performance of your pain. You owe yourself peace. And peace is quiet. Peace is boring to the broken. Peace is offensive to the chaotic. Peace is suspicious to the manipulative. Let them be suspicious. Let them be confused. Let them wonder what happened to the man who used to chase. He died. And in his place sits a man who no longer negotiates with noise. The silence is where you train. It is where you read. It is where you lift. It is where you build. It is where you pray. It is where you plan. It is where you become dangerous. Because a man who masters silence masters himself. And a man who masters himself cannot be mastered by anyone. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Silence is you taking power back from outside events. Silence is you realizing the only voice that matters is yours. So embrace it. Sit in it. Breathe in it. Build in it. The world will scream for your attention. Let it scream. You are no longer available for emergencies in kingdoms you do not rule. You are no longer on call for people who only call when they are drowning. You are no longer the audience for people who only perform when you are watching. You stopped chasing people. Now you chase nothing. You are still. You are rooted. You are silent. And in that silence, you become unshakable. In that silence, you become untouchable. In that silence, you become powerful. The silence is not the absence of power. The silence is power itself. The test always comes after the silence. Always. You think you are free because you stopped chasing. You think you are powerful because you stopped begging. You think you are healed because you stopped bleeding. Then they come back. The ones you cut, the ones you walked away from, the ones you buried. They come back when you are finally breathing. They come back when you are finally building. They come back when you are finally forgetting. That is the test. The test is not to see if they changed. The test is to see if you did. They will return with better words. They will return with better timing. They will return with "I miss you and I was wrong," and I understand now. They will return with the exact version of themselves you prayed for when you were weak. Because the universe is cruel like that. It gives you the test right after you pass the class. It gives you the temptation right after you take the vow. It gives you the poison right after you cure the addiction. You will want to believe them. Your old self will scream to believe them. Your lonely nights will beg you to believe them. Your ego will tell you that this proves you are right to wait, that this proves you are special, that this proves they finally see your value. No, it proves nothing except that your silence was loud. It proves nothing except that your absence was felt. It proves nothing except that people always want what they cannot have. And the moment you become available again, you become ordinary again. The test is not about them. It is about your memory. Do you remember the nights you cried because of them? Do you remember the times you shrank to keep them? Do you remember the self-respect you traded for their presence? Do you remember the man you became to keep them comfortable? If you remember, you pass. If you forget, you fail. And failing the test sends you back to keynote 1, back to the chase, back to the begging, back to the bleeding, back to square one with deeper scars. They do not come back because they love you. They come back because they love the power you gave them. They come back because your reign threatened their kingdom. They come back because your silence offended their noise. They come back because your growth exposed their stagnation. They come back to see if the door is still unlocked. They come back to see if the boundaries were real. They come back to see if the king still bows. Do not bow. You pass the test with inaction. You do not reply. You do not explain. You do not gloat. You do not post quotes. You do not check if they saw your story. You do nothing. Because action is engagement, and engagement is access, and access is the drug you quit. You do not take one sip to prove you are strong. You do not take one hit to prove you healed. You stay clean. You stay gone. You stay in your reign. The test will hurt, because part of you still wants the fairy tale. Part of you still wants the apology to be real. Part of you still wants the damage to be undone. But Seneca said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." You cannot reclaim the years. You cannot rewrite the pain. You cannot unlearn the lessons, and you should not. Because those lessons made you unshakable. Those lessons made you untouchable. Those lessons made you powerful. So when they come back, bless them and block them. Thank them and delete them. Wish them well and walk away. Not in anger, in authority, not in spite, in sovereignty, not to hurt them, to honor you, to honor the man who bled to get here, to honor the man who died to be reborn, to honor the man who stopped chasing and started reigning. The test is not a punishment. The test is a confirmation. It confirms you are no longer available for chaos. It confirms you are no longer hungry for crumbs. It confirms you are no longer the man they left. You are the man they lost. And men who are lost do not get found. They get replaced by peace. You stopped chasing people. Now you do not even turn around when they chase you. That is power. That is the test. Pass it. The legacy is not what you leave behind. The legacy is what you refuse to carry forward. You stopped chasing and became powerful. But power without purpose is prison. So what do? You build. You become what they cannot erase. You live so your old self is proud and your enemies are irrelevant. You were the chase. You became the cut. You endured the return. You survived the rise. You began the reign. You mastered the silence. You passed the test. Now comes the legacy. Legacy is not fame. Legacy is your standards outliving you. It is the son who watches you walk from disrespect and learns what a man is. It is the daughter who sees your discipline and learns what love is. You do not preach legacy. You become it. In silence, in consistency. The test never stops. But now you do not flinch, because you protect legacy, not ego. A man protecting legacy does not negotiate with chaos. He buries the past. He builds the future. You stopped chasing people. You became powerful. Now become permanent. That is legacy.